Dora, credit repair. Oh, I heard the recording go. I'm Stephanie Black with Andorra Credit Repair. And so today we're actually going to talk about the different scoring credit scores, because I think that's a huge point for everybody. People get confused as to why, when, I'm looking at Credit Karma is my score, 750, and then I go have a lender pull my credit and they tell me, it's 640. So that's a huge thing. So we're going to kind of go over those so that you understand the different scoring models. And we're going to talk about the 5 factors of FICO and what kind of goes into the scoring. So, and I am going to share my screen so we can get into my PowerPoint.
Nice.
Okay. There we go. Okay, so for today, it's how credit scores work, and we're going to go through the 5 main factors of credit scoring. But first, we're going to talk about the different scoring models. So there's 2 different scoring models. There's not 2, there's about 54 actually. There's literally dozens of them. So, but we're going to talk about the 2 today that really factor the most in people's lives, because most people are looking at Vantage scores versus FICO scores. And there's also several types of FICO. So first of all, Vantage score is what the credit bureaus actually set up. So they all got together because they, didn't want to continue paying Fair Isaac for scores. They want to be able to sell scores too. So they created their own scoring model. And that is the Vantage score. Now, it does factor very differently than FICO. Where you're going to find Vantage is on like Credit Karma is Vantage, any type of credit monitoring platform like Smart Credit, Identity IQ, things like that. Those are typically going to be a Vantage credit score. So on the flip side of that, then you have FICO, and that was created by Fair Isaac. Now, this is what most lenders use, but they use a certain version of FICO. So you're going to have several versions of FICO. That gets very confusing. So right now, a lot of places, like you'll see FICO 8. A lot of times the bureaus even will give you a FICO 8 score, or credit card companies will give you a FICO 8 score. And again, that's still different from what the lenders are using. The lenders are using the classic FICO model, okay, which is 2, 4, and 5. So when you're looking at, even if it says it's a FICO score and you have a credit card that's giving you a FICO score, they're likely giving you FICO 8, because the credit card lenders use FICO 8. So you have, the bureau scores, which uses Vantage, these are more like consumer educational scores. Then you have FICO 8, which is what the credit card lenders are mainly using. And then you will also have FICO 2, 4, and 5, which is what the lenders are using. So that's why if you ever have a client that tells you, okay, my credit score with Credit Karma, is 680, and I went to go see a lender and they're telling me I have a 613. And that's the reason why, because it's a Vantage versus a FICO score. So that's important to know when you have clients that are giving you their scores off of Credit Karma. Credit Karma is typically higher. Vantage will typically be higher than FICO in most cases. In some cases, that's not true. For myself personally, my FICO score is actually much higher than my Vantage score. My husband, Flip, his Vantage score is actually much higher than his FICO score. But probably 80% of the time, the Vantage score will be higher. So we're going to talk about 5 different ways or things that affect your credit score. So I call them the 5 factors of FICO. You have 5 different things that affect credit scores. Number 1 is payment history at 35%. Then you have utilization ratio at 30%, which is basically how much have you spent on your credit cards, versus your limits. The length of credit history is 15%. Types of credit are 10%, and new credit is 10%. So we're going to go over these in a little bit of detail. I'm going to give you some credit tips along the way and some different things that you can do to improve your clients' credit scores. So payment history, number one, 35%. This is huge. If you're not paying on time, you're never going to have a high credit score, period. One single 30-day late payment will drop your credit score 75 to 100 points. Typically, it's going to be the full 100 points. That happens literally overnight. Okay, as soon as you're late, it doesn't matter what you're late on. Okay, you could be late on your mortgage payment, or you could be late on a $15 minimum payment for Target, and it's going to have the exact same effect. You can have paid all of your credit on time for the last 10 years and had one single 30-day late payment, and it's going to drop your credit score 100 points. Now, they did remedy that problem as far as, like having credit for a really good time. There was one accident on FICO 8. So FICO 8, another reason why it can be much higher than FICO 2, 4, and 5 is that they factored it less heavily when you had one 30-day late with all on-time payment. But unfortunately, that's not what lenders use. So it's not really that helpful because lenders never did, mortgage lenders never adopted, or banks never adopted that score model. But that is one reason why it can be higher. So keep in mind, one single 30-day late payment drops your credit score 100 points. It takes 12 to 24 months to recover from that. Okay, you'll get most of your points back after a full 12 months, but it does take a full 12 months of on-time payments. Now, I'm sure you've probably heard different things on paying old collection accounts, or just paying old accounts in general that can hurt your credit score. Well, that actually is true. Paying old accounts can actually harm your credit score if you don't do it properly, but there are some instances where it actually helps your credit score to pay it off. So I'm going to give you, this is a little more advanced. This is what we do, at Andorra Credit Repair. When we do full written action plans for the client, we make sure that we're having them pay off the proper items. So charge-offs and collections are different. So the way I'll define that for you right now is a collection agency is something that's been purchased by a third party to collect the debt. Okay. So a charge off would be the original creditor. So say you have a Chase Bank credit card, and it charges off, which is nothing more than an accounting term. Okay. It's a charged off debt. You still owe the debt, but they've charged it off their books. Okay. So a charge off, if you pay a charge off and they just put it to a zero balance, it actually improves your credit score. Okay. It will not hurt it. Even if it's 6 years old, it will actually help. I've had people's credit scores go up by as much as 70 points just by paying off one old charge off that was 5 or 6 years old. And not even removing it. It doesn't even have to be deleted. It just needs to go to a zero balance. Most people have no idea that this is true. Okay, so charge-offs can go to a zero balance and improve the score every time. Now, on the flip side, collection accounts, that is not the same. If you were to pay a 6-year-old collection account and all they do is update it as paid, you're probably going to drop your credit score about 50 points. Okay, so it can create a lot of damage by paying off the wrong things. One thing you can do, however, is negotiate a pay for delete. A lot of companies will do a pay for delete, especially with medical. Okay, most medical collection agencies will do a pay for delete. You do have to ask. You just have to ask them, hey, if I pay this account, can you delete it from my credit report? And they will either say yes or no. And if they say yes, they'll send you a deletion letter after you have paid it. And that's fine. There's a lot of companies in Arizona that do that. Uh, Bureau of Medical Economics, healthcare collections, anything like that, they automatically do deletions at the end, but you do need to ask. IC Systems, Thunderbird, they all do deletions. So if you see anything like that, or you can help your clients with, that will definitely improve. But a collection has to be removed. A charge off can go to a zero balance and be helpful. And if you guys have any questions about any of this, feel free to just put them in the chat and I'll answer any questions that you have afterwards. All right. So utilization ratio, 30% of your score. So we already know that the payment history is 35%, utilization ratio is 30%. So 65% of your overall credit score is really just paying your bills on time and keeping your credit card balances low. All right. So you want to make sure if you have $1,000 credit limit that you never charge more than $300 on the credit card at any one given time. Okay, it's best to keep it under 30%. If you want to maximize your credit score, you want to get it as close to 10% as possible. Somewhere in the 8 to 10% range is where you're going to maximize the score. You are going to get it as high as it can possibly be at that point as far as utilization goes. A lot of people will tell me, well, I max out my credit cards every month, but I pay them in full every month. So it's not a problem, but it actually is a problem because if you're doing that, you're keeping your credit score low because they're going to be reporting the high balance for the month. Okay. So if you're paying it on your date that it's due, they're going to report your high balance every month and it's going to appear that you have maxed out your credit cards every single month and it will hurt your credit score. This can bring your credit score down by anywhere from 25 to 100 points, okay, just by high usage. So it is very important to keep them low. Length of credit history is 15% of the score. So there's a couple things that you can do to improve your length of credit history if you have a very thin credit file. And we call a credit file thin, that is, has a real short, like maybe they've only had credit for like 6 months or a year. So one thing you can do is have someone add you on, like a family member or a friend could add you on as an authorized user to a card that they've had for a long period of time. This does still work on FICO 2, 4, and 5, actually, to improve the credit score. One thing you want to stay away from is purchasing trade lines. This is very different than adding on as an authorized user to a family member's card. So trade lines really can get you in a lot of trouble, especially with mortgage. They consider that to be, your client would be committing mortgage fraud basically because they don't have access to this card and they did it for the sheer purpose of improving the score. So stick with authorized users to improve length of credit history. So it's a good thing, like if somebody has a card that they've had for 5 or 10 years with a low utilization, no late payments, it's a great idea to get added on to that if you don't have a long credit history yourself. Now, if you have your own open credit and you've had it for, 5 years or so, you don't need to ever be added on as an authorized user. Closing credit cards can be another pitfall to your credit score. And it can also affect the credit history that you have by closing them. So say you have a credit card that you've had for 10 years and it's not that great of a card. So you're thinking about closing it because you just got this great new Southwest card for airline miles. It's got a high limit. You don't need this old card. But what happens when you close that credit card, you're going to change the average age of your accounts. So when you close it, you can actually drop your credit score by as much as 50 points. So it's a good idea always to keep your longest history credit card, even if you don't love it. If there's terms that you don't care for on that particular card, then just go ahead and call them up. If your credit score has improved since then, you can just call them right up on the phone. Say, hey, I want to get rid of this annual fee. I would like a better, interest rate. You can renegotiate those credit cards if your credit has improved since you've gotten it. And a lot of people don't know that. So just call them up and renegotiate to better terms. So types of credit is worth 10% of your score. So types of credit just mean the different types, like installment accounts, mortgages, you have a revolving account. It is important to have the proper mix. So a revolving credit account is like a credit card, a store credit card or a Visa or a MasterCard, something like that. That's a revolving account where you have a credit limit. You can use the card, pay it down, and continue using the card within that limit. Installment accounts are just like an auto loan, a student loan. Some furniture accounts can be an installment account. Some are revolving, some are installment. You just have to look and see. But an installment account is a set amount of payments. And then once that you've paid those set amount of payments, the account is closed. Okay, and then you have mortgages, which kind of is in its own little area. So the proper mix, you should have at least 3 open accounts, especially if you're looking to get a mortgage. So if you have clients, obviously they're wanting to buy homes. If they have credit issues and they have no credit, that can be keeping the score down quite a bit. They should have at least 2 revolving accounts, and they should have 1 installment account at minimum. 4 to 5 accounts is usually pretty good. But you don't want to have them add 4 to 5 accounts all at once. So if they have no credit, it's best to just have them add 2 revolving, 1 installment. And there are different tiers for that of what they can or should apply for. So say you have somebody, with a 580 credit score, you can't just tell them, hey, you need to go get 2 revolving credit accounts, because they're going to go apply all over the place and they're going to get denied all over the place because they're not going to qualify for anything except a secured credit card. So they would have to get a secured credit card. Now, if you have somebody in the 630 range, somewhere in there between 630 and 679, then they're going to be in that mid-tier range where they can get an account probably with like Capital One, Credit One, Barclays Bank, things like that, the mid-tier type accounts or credit cards. And then anybody over a 680 typically will qualify for the main top tier bank cards. So that would be, Chase Bank, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and that kind of thing. A lot of times when the credit scores are really low too, even though some of these banks offer secured options, still don't qualify for them if they have too many, like too many collections and charge-offs, they're still going to deny them even for a secured credit card. So if you ever need a good secured credit card options, on my website, AndoraCreditRepair.com, there's a list of secured cards that will basically approve everyone.
Nice, Stephanie. That was actually one of our questions, was where's a good place to get a secured Visa? Finding out on Stephanie's website.
Yeah. I think I have 3 of them up there on the website. I think it's First Progress, Capital Bank, it's like Open Sky, and then Merrick Bank. Those are all good ones. There's no great secured credit cards. The terms aren't all that great for any of them. but those are the best that I found, and they approve pretty much most anyone. So it's important that they don't just go out and just keep, charging or applying and getting, inquiries. So having a proper mix is really important to build a high credit score. New credit is also 10%. And so we've talked a little bit about this already, the average age of accounts. That's important. Always, keep in mind, every time you open an account, you lower the average age of all of your accounts. So too much credit opened all at once can be a bit of a red flag, because you are lowering that average age of your accounts. So it can actually result in a decrease in your credit score. Inquiries, they're just not that big of a deal, honestly. They don't affect your credit that much, but you don't want to be inquiring, 3 to 4 times a month, because that will over time affect the score. It's about a 3-point hit when you have an inquiry. And if you're shopping for a mortgage over a couple weeks span, they usually just hit you for that once, or a car, something like that. So that's actually the end of the slides. So, but I do want to talk a little bit too, and I'm not sure how I'm doing on time.
You are good.
Yeah. So I want to talk a few minutes too, just about rebuilding after bankruptcy. And it's going to kind of go back to the same thing. So once someone has had a bankruptcy, it's actually really good for the credit. So they can easily have a credit score in the 700s within 6 to 12 months after a bankruptcy. Okay, a lot of people think they're going to have terrible credit forever, but that's not true. So because they can buy a house in 2 years. So, but what's important, what I see a lot in my business, is that people come to me, they've had a bankruptcy, and they come to me because their credit scores, it's like 3 years later, and their credit scores, 580, and nothing's rebounding, and they don't understand why. But it's because they never rebuilt. Okay, so the people that rebuild immediately will have a 700 credit score. I mean, I've seen them in 6-7 months time. Their credit score is great. So what they need to do is rebuild immediately and do what we just talked about. They need at least 3 open accounts. So after the bankruptcy, usually they have nothing at all. So they need to go out and get 2 secured credit cards immediately, keep them at that 10%, and get 1 installment loan. I also have installment loans. There's 2 on my website. And I don't know if you guys got that. It was AndoraCreditRepair.com, and Andorra has 2 R's. There's also 2 installment accounts on there, Self Lender, and I think it's called Credit Builder, Credit Strong and Self Lender. Those are the 2 things that I have people do for an installment account, because it's like a forced savings account. Basically, they just get a personal loan. They don't actually get any money. They just pay it off over time, every 12 months. And at the end of 12 months, they just have a CD that unlocks in their name. So it's a good forced savings account. They could do it for 24 months. So it can be also a tool to help them qualify for a home within that 2 years. So say they go rebuild, they get 2 secured credit cards, they get a self-lender account for 24 months. They do it for $5,000 so that they can start saving for their down payment at the same time that they're rebuilding. Are you guys hearing that? I'm not sure. It's not me.
I can hear you fine, Stephanie. There's a little bit of distortion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was hearing some distortion. So
sounds good now.
Yeah. So that's a great idea for people out of bankruptcy, especially if they want to buy a house in 2 years, to do that, to set up like a self-lender account for 24 months or a credit strong account for 24 months. And then they can do a high one where they will have money saved for their down payment at the end of that 2 years. So when they're ready, they're going to have some cash that will unlock, and that is nicely seasoned. And they will also have all of the open revolving credit that they need. So that is it for my presentation. I'm happy to take any questions.
Stephanie, could you please post the websites that you are talking about in our chat window?
Yeah.
Be awesome. All right. If anybody has any questions for us, please let us know. Anybody that's watching the recording as well, if you have any questions for Stephanie, please reach out to your business development managers and we can put you in touch with Stephanie. All right, I'm going to go over a couple of classes that we have coming up, just like our wonderful Marketing Matters webinars. Tomorrow, we have an online Zoom CE class, Solar and Real Estate. This is 3 hours of disclosure credit. And yes, it's going to be on Zoom. I love these Zoom CE classes. I feel like they're convenient. I feel like the information is great because it's right in front of you. So if you would like to attend this, we still have a couple of spaces left. This is going to be tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Reach out. We will get you the link and get you registered. There is still time to register for this class. And Tara is an amazing instructor when it comes to talking about solar. And then we also have a series going on. Last week on Marketing Matters, we talked about your 2022 goals and how to implement them and get a plan of action together. Well, Patty and Michael are hosting a series. The first one was last week. The next one is tomorrow from 11:30 to 1, how to set up your small business. Guys, this is PLLCs and S Corps. So if you are performing at a certain level of business and you don't have one of those already, you really do need to consider setting up your business. And then on Tuesday, October 28th is the last one in the series, Financial Plans and P's and L's. That is Tuesday, October 28th from 11:30 to 12:30. You want information? These are in person in Goodyear. Let us know. We'll help you get set up. And then October 22nd, that is, I think it's Friday this week. Tiffany Hobgood, our VP of Escrow Operations, is going to be going over 10 steps to a successful closing. Escrow stuff is always good to know so that you can pass that information along to your clients. This one is going to be in person as well in Peoria. If you can't make it in person on the 22nd, the good news is we actually have Tiffany coming on next week to Marketing Matters to go over escrow and successful closings as well. And then on November 4th, we are wrapping up our online fall Zoom CE series at Landmark Title with ethics. 3 hours of fair housing. If you need some credits, get them in before the end of the year. You've got 2 opportunities in the next couple of weeks to join one of our Zoom classes, get some quick, well, I'll say quick. They're all 3 hours, but it's still quick because you don't have to drive anywhere when you're doing Zoom. This one is Thursday, November 4th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Once again, this is going to be a Zoom class. Stephanie, they said that they don't see it here, the information on your website. I'm presuming
I didn't send it to everyone. I'm fixing it.
Yes, keep those questions coming in. And then we've got one more class coming up on Wednesday, November 10th. This is also a CE class in person in Goodyear, setting up PCs, PLLCs, and S Corps, right? This is what I said. If you're at a certain level of business, it's great to set one of these up for your business. It protects you. And guess what, guys? If you want to attend this one, you're going to get CE credit for it as well. So this is Wednesday, November 10th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. All right. All right, Stephanie, I think everybody's good. I think they got your website. Once again, please reach out to Stephanie for any credit repair problems that you have. It's always imperative in our industry that we have fantastic people like Stephanie to partner with and to help our clients out with. And that's about it for us on Marketing Matters today. Of course, thank you, Stephanie, for coming on. That was great information. Kind of just summed it all up in a nice little tight nutshell. And we'll be happy to share this with anybody that wants a little bit more information on it. And as always, thank you to our business development management team, Beth, Becky, Melinda, Mary, Eric in Las Vegas, Zach, Patty, Michael, and Jessica. Y'all are amazing. Please reach out to them for any questions that you have about anything in the real estate industry. We are at Landmark Title. We are not only here for your marketing and title and escrow needs, but we are connectors. So anybody that you need within the real estate industry, odds are good that your business development manager has somebody great for you to work with, just like Stephanie. And then, as always, thank you to Landmark Title for allowing us to bring you Marketing Matters and this great little snippets of information every week. You can catch us again, same time, same place, same channel on Marketing Matters. And as always, please think of Landmark Title on your next contract. We'd be happy to help you. We now have 7 offices in the Valley and a new one up in Prescott. So thank you so much, of course, to our clients, helping us to expand even in pandemic times. We love serving you. We love helping out. And we'll see you next week.